Thank you. Okay, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we're ready to start our meeting. Seeing as nobody in the gallery, I'll ask Ms. Kelly to simply begin with the land acknowledgement.
Okay. I acknowledge with respect that we are in Robinson Huron Treaty Territory, that the land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and known as Bawating. Bawating is the home of Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, the historic Sault Ste. Marie Métis Council. Mr. Chair, if we could move to a motion for the minutes of July 10th hearing.
Motion, please. Ms. McGregor, seconded Mr. Wayne Greco. All in favor?
Thank you. I've got no, Mr. Chair, you've advised that you have a pecuniary interest in tab 2 and tab 4 on the agenda, that being application A 2024 and B 13 2024, Herbs Vilas Inc., D&M Construction Management, 210 Pittsburgh. And you've advised that you have a direct pecuniary. When we move to that tab, you'll vacate the chambers. We have no requests for withdrawal or deferral, but I would like to advise the committee that an application A 2124 concerning 460 Moss Road was circulated, but unfortunately did not meet the notice requirements for public notice signs, so it's had to be pulled and it will be on the September hearing. There's nobody in the gallery to reflect that too, but in case they're listening. So matters to be considered today, we'll move right to item 1 on the agenda. And that's application A 1924. It's an application from Joseph and Brunella Gagliardi. The subject property is 885 Gooley Avenue. It's located on the west side of Gooley Avenue between 3rd Line West and 4th Line West. The subject property is designated rural in the official plan and is zoned rural area. It is approximately 0.82 hectares in size. Relief is requested from the provisions of bylaw 2005-150 as amended to legitimize the location of the existing gazebo and deck by reducing the required south side yard. Specifically, section 8.5.2 of zoning bylaw 2005-150 requires a minimum interior side yard of 5 meters. The applicants are seeking to reduce the minimum south interior side yard to 4.2 meters for the gazebo and deck only. Notice of public hearing was sent by personal mail to neighboring properties by posting a sign on site and by posting on the city website. No public input was received on this application at the time of the writing of my report, and nothing further today. As part of the application review, this proposal was circulated to the following internal departments and external agencies for their review. Building Division, and I had not received a response. Conservation Authority, and I'll read their comments, advised that the subject property is located within an area that is regulated under Ontario Regulation 4124, prohibited activities, exemptions, and permits under the Conservation Authorities Act. Any development on the subject property will require a site plan review and may require a permit from the Conservation Authority. They do not have any concerns, though, with the request. Engineering Construction had no comment. Fire Services had no comment. Legal Department asked to be notified of the decision. Planning Division had no objection. PUC, Electric and Water had no concerns, and Public Works did not comment. Planning staff had no objections. This property is located in an area with a mix of rural area and R1 rural estate lots. The request to locate the garage 1.82 meters is in line with what would be permitted in the property across the street from this one at 1.2 meters as the zoning bylaw. It is not foreseen that it would have negative impact on the adjoining lot. There are other garages with a reduced setback in the neighborhood to mitigate some of the effect from the reduced setback. The property has a tree line on the lot line border that will offset the impact of the structure. And those are my submissions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. There's nobody in the gallery to speak to the matter. Therefore, do any of the members of the committee have any comments or questions? Or no, for nobody, I guess. For us? No. Okay, can we have a motion to approve or application?
I'll make the motion to approve the application.
Seconder for that motion?
Second the motion.
Seconded by Mr. Rossi. All in favor? Motion is carried.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, would you like me to move to item 5 and 6 and then you could
Yeah.
just leave at? So if I could draw your attention to tab 5, application B1524. It's an application from James David Hunter and the estate of the late Patricia Marie Jean Hunter. They've applied for a validation of title pursuant to section 57(1) of the Planning Act for the continued use of the property known as 799 Carpent Beach Road as a separate and distinct property. A transfer of ownership of this property took place on January 16th, 1989, without the consent of the Committee of Adjustment under the predecessor section of section 50 of the Planning Act. The intent of this application is to cure the past breach and confirm or validate the effect of a historic conveyance, despite it having contravened the Planning Act. In accordance with section 57 of the Planning Act, a validation of title request does not require any circulation. Some history on the application. On May 8th, 1961, James David Hunter purchased PIN 316120325, and on November 2nd, 1988, he acquired the budding property being PIN 316120201. Under Planning Act provisions, these two properties merged. On January 16th, 1989, David James Hunter transferred PIN 316120325 into both he and his wife Patricia's name without the benefit of consent as such. The Planning Act is without the benefit, and as such, the Planning Act is deemed void. Approval of this application will correct the previous conveyance contravention. Recommended conditions of any approval are provide a transfer deed of land for certificate of official, provide payment of the transfer deed fee, provide a current PIN abstract and PIN map, and payment of taxes. Mr. Chair, just for explanation, often this happened in the past when, as you know, the applicants weren't advised that taking it in title, the same title, the properties merged, and that's the case with this property. And those are my submissions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. I don't see too many issues with this at all. Can I have a motion to approve the application?
I'll put forward the motion
Mr. Rossi,
with the recommendations.
thank you. Anybody else with a second on that?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Ms. McGregor. All in favor? Motion is carried.
Thank you. Bring your attention to item 6 on the agenda, that being application B1624. The applicant is Ashley Rose Craney. The property is 21 Nickel Avenue. It is located on the west side of Nickel Avenue, approximately 70 meters north of its intersection with Second Line West. It is designated residential in the official plan and is zoned R2 gentle density residential. In accordance with Planning Act provisions, section 5345, an owner of land that was previously conveyed with an unstipulated consent may apply for a certificate of cancellation of consent only to permit a lot addition to a previously consented to parcel. Notice to other property owners, parties, or commenting agencies is not required. The applicant is seeking the committee's consent to a cancellation of consent for the unstipulated consent granted in application B2319, which created the parcel known as 21 Nickel Avenue. The intent of the application is to permit the southerly abutting property described as Part 3 on 1R13547 and municipally identified as 17 Nickel Avenue to attach to civic number 21 Nickel Avenue as a lot addition in a stipulated consent. This cancellation or decision not to cancel is not appealable. Recommended conditions of any approval are provide a transfer deed of land for a cancellation certificate, provide consolidation transfer with stipulated consent, provide payment of transfer fee, provide a correct and current PIN abstract and PIN map, and payment of taxes. And those are my submissions, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Kelly, we have a motion to approve the application, subject to any questions. We have a motion for approval.
Can I have a quick question?
Sure.
So initially there was an application and it was approved. Now they're asking that the
Initially, the one property was created as a separate parcel from the other. New owners want it to be one property again and combine it. For a cancellation of consent, you have to be attaching it to a property. In this case, they are, and this will cancel the consent and we'll go back to one piece.
Okay, thank you.
Motion in favor?
Motion forward to approve
Rooney,
forms to the other lots and based on the recommendations.
A second here.
Mr. Rossi, all in favor? Motion's carried.
Thank you.
I shall vacate my seat.
Okay.
Somebody like to take my seat.
Wayne, would you take the chair seat? Okay, so I'll bring your attention back to item 2 on your agenda. It would be tab 2 and tab 4. It's a duo application. It'll sound familiar, the property will sound familiar to you. It's 210 Pittsburgh Avenue. We considered a consent for that property a few months ago. Because the intent for the property has changed, it was suggested and now requires a minor variance. It was suggested that they reapply so that the committee could give consideration to the minor variance and the consent at the same time. So I'll go over the consent and you'll, you know what, I'll do the variance first. We won't take a motion on it. I'll let you know what the variance is all about and then we'll do the consent and then we'll take the motions. Herbs Vilas Inc. is the owner of Civic number 210 Pittsburgh Avenue. It is located on the northeast corner of Pittsburgh Avenue and Yonge Street. The subject property is designated residential in the official plan and is zoned R3, low density residential. It is regular in shape. It's regular in shape and is approximately 3.8 hectares in size. Subject to final consent approval of the application B1324, relief is requested from the provisions of bylaw 2005-150 as amended to facilitate the creation of 3 autonomous lots by reducing the required south exterior side yard. Specifically, section 9.7.2 requires a minimum required exterior side yard being the Yonge Street side of 4 meters. The applicant is asking that you give consideration to reducing the minimum required exterior side yard to 1.93 meters. Notice of public hearing was sent by personal mail to neighboring properties by posting a sign on site and posting on the city website. And to this point, I've had no public input. As part of the application review, this proposal was circulated to the following internal departments and external agencies who had no comments, concerns, or objections. Engineering and construction staff advised that there is a city easement along the back property line. 2, there is only 1 sanitary lateral to the property. The applicant will be required to install the sanitary and water services for each lot and then repave the portion of the road that was excavated during the installation of services. Multiple patches for each service connection will not be acceptable. A servicing agreement may be required. A lot grading and drainage plan must be completed by a lot grading professional to ensure that drainage is dealt with appropriately. Lot grading professionals must be a professional engineer, civil, architect, or Ontario land surveyor. Experienced in lot grading design, a drainage agreement may be required. Municipal consent permit is required for the construction work in the municipal right-of-way. No work shall be commenced without the approval of the Director of Engineering or his designate. Any work which requires approvals from the city and the Minister of the Environment shall not commence until such approvals and agreements are endorsed. The driveway on the south side of building area 1 is not acceptable. The streets bylaw requires a driveway to be located at a minimum of 4.5 meters from the projected street line. And I'd just like to further report on that. They've done some work with Tulloch and engineering is now satisfied. While they prefer a driveway on the other side of the building, it doesn't contravene the streets bylaw anymore. So we don't have to add that as a condition. Planning does not object to the requested variance. When looking at the character of the neighborhood, there are other properties that are on corner lots that have a reduced exterior side yard. If approved, planning recommends that stacked parking not be permitted for the residential structure nearest the exterior lot line in order to ensure sight lines can be maintained. There's been no evidence of any objection to the request. Planning staff provided conditional support. Recommended conditions of the variance are obtain final approval of the consent application B1324, stacked parking not permitted for the most southerly unit adjacent to Yonge Street. And we don't need number 3, the driveway location, because we now know that it's meets the regulation for the streets bylaw.
Mhm.
So moving to item 4, which I won't go through the description all over again. They seek to create 3 independent parcels, pretty much equal size, 41.4 meter frontage, 1,190.5 square meters in area. Again, notice was circulated to the neighborhood and on city website, public notice sign. As part of the review, the following agencies were commented on the consent application. Canada Post had no comment at this time. Conservation Authority, no concerns. We've seen engineering's comments. Fire Services, no comments or concern. Legal Department, no comment. Planning Division, no comment. PUC Electric and Water, no concerns. Public Works, no comments or concerns. No, there's no additional comment. No evidence of any opposition to this request either. Recommended conditions of any approval are payment of 5% cash in lieu of parkland, payment of the transfer fee, provide a transfer deed of land for certificate of official, provide a lot grading and drainage plan completed by a lot grading professional, enter into a drainage agreement if deemed necessary, provide reference plan, provide current PIN abstract and PIN map, minor variance application approval if required. Now, we do have the minor variance with this application, but in addition, if the survey is provided to me and it's evident that another variance is required, they would have to come back to the committee before I would issue a certificate of official. Discharge or charge of mortgage, partial discharge or charge of mortgage, payment of taxes, and those are the conditions that would be added to the consent. So, Mr. Chair, the consent for the creation of the parcel size is essentially the same as the previous approved application. The conditions are essentially the same other than no stack parking on the one driveway. The change from this consent to the previous one is the intent of the parcels previously. It was for single unit dwellings only. And there'll be townhouses on these 3 lots, but there's no, it's provided for in the zoning bylaw and there's no objections to it. So we'll have to have approval of the variance before we can consider the consent approval. And those are my submissions, sir.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, discussion?
None.
Hearing none. What is stack parking?
If the each individual unit is permitted an additional unit, they can't have their parking one behind the other.
Yeah, they have to have like.
It would have to be side by each or in the rear yard. And only because it's at that corner.
Thank you. So we'll entertain a motion then.
For the,
Anyone want to make the motion?
I'll put forth a motion and this is for the consent first, right?
No variance.
Variance.
The variance, that's what I meant. Okay. I'll put forth a motion for the variance. It's similar to lots around the area. So I'll put forth a motion to approve with the conditions.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Rossi, thank you. All in favor? Motion's approved.
If we could have, we could have one for tab 4 and that being the consent.
I'm looking for a motion for the consent application.
I'll put forth a motion to approve the consent application with conditions as outlined.
Here, I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Melinda. Thank you, Mr. Rossi. All in favor?
Thank you. That would be that. That's it.
Did you wish to see?
And,
That was it. We get more pay now?
pardon me? Yeah. And
Getting a raise?
ask him to come back.
Thanks.
All good?
Yeah, we just need a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn, please.
I'll put forward that motion.
Mr. Rossi, seconded by somebody, Mr. Greco. All in favor?
Thank you.
This meeting is adjourned. Ms. Kelly?
Thank you. This is the,
Since today.
Yeah, oh, yeah.